What's up, everyone? So I'm excited to share. I just had a conversation slash interview with my boy, Aaron Furman, and it turned out really good. We just had it right up here on the porch here in beautiful, sunny Costa Rica, living Pura Vida, having a good time. And I got inspired and I wanted to talk to him and I wanted you guys to get to understand him more. So it started as an interview. We started talking. Next thing I know, he has questions for me. So it's kind of an interview of both of us just talking about our experience together and giving some tattoo advice. So if you love to hear about tattoo advice, you love to hear of a story of an artist that became a badass tattooer, stay tuned because this is a good one. All right, Aaron Furman interview. All right, so I wanted to interview you, Aaron, because I feel like you don't get on the mic and you don't get on the camera, and people probably want to know who the fuck Aaron Furman is, right?
Okay.
So let's get into who Aaron Furman is. I do have some questions for you about your time with me in the summer, and I would love to start just talking about your apprenticeship. And I know when I think of the apprenticeship, and like especially when you first started messaging me, I know that's a great story. But I feel like the mentor owns the keys to the castle, right? And you have to be very selective, very, very selective of who you give these keys to the castle to. And I don't see that happen as much anymore. I see a lot of people just, oh, you have the potential to make me some money. Here's a machine. Here's some fake skin. Let's do some lines. Let's do some shading. Boom, you're working. And that's not the apprenticeship that you had, right? So I put you through a 1-year traditional apprenticeship, and I know there was a lot of things you had to learn, and I think you might have even questioned some of these things along the way. So do you feel now that it was worth it, and like it sped you? You learned a lot on the paper, right? You weren't making mistakes on skin. You were figuring things out on paper. By the time you were tattooing, you were just doing beautiful, clean tattoos. I've never seen any tattoos really come back that you've had to clean up and fix from those days. So how do you feel about how your apprenticeship went?
Yeah, so I had a little experience with watercolor before ever doing the apprenticeship, but that was the bulk of it, besides the essays in the beginning, which I like writing. I was stoked to learn about. We did like Sailor Jerry and Ed Hardy, those guys. Maybe we did one more maybe Malone was one. But yeah, the bulk of it was watercolor, and I really enjoy that now, just as much as I love tattooing. And yeah, working the designs out and the traditional way of painting, yeah, for sure helps, translates very well to tattooing. Um, I would say in the beginning, I was definitely trying to maybe be original, and now I'm leaning into like the traditional references a little bit more. So just being exposed to that very early on, I definitely wasn't fully understanding of like what it was trying to accomplish. And I remember I was painting like my first like real flash sheet, and I was taking forever. And I was pretty proud of what I had done up to that point. And you came over and you're like, "What are you doing? I asked you to paint like traditional bangers, not little fucking masterpieces." And that'll always stick in my head because definitely you can't cram all the detail that you maybe want to in these little traditional tattoos. Um, so yeah,
I recently heard you critique my new apprentice, Alana,
mm-hmm.
and saying stop trying to reinvent the wheel. And that's something that you obviously learned. And we all, as artists, we want to be creative. We want to look at Sailor Jerry and be like, well, how can I fix it? How can I make it better?
Yeah.
What can I do to it? But all I want you to do is like, you don't know more than Sailor Jerry.
You're not making Sailor Jerry's rose better than Sailor Jerry.
You're not making Ed Hardy stuff better. So just do Ed Hardy's,
yeah.
and do it the way he did it and do it right.
So I think in the beginning, if I were to do the apprenticeship over again, I would draw very little and try to just replicate it almost verbatim to get my reps in, to learn. And like those Sailor Jerry pork chops I did, those are, I painted as closely as I could. And that was, like a year after my apprenticeship. And yeah,
working more on muscle memory than creativity.
Yeah, exactly. And then once you really can hone in on like the way the traditional tattoo is done, then maybe you can put your spin on it, I would say.
Well, it was a great year of having an apprenticeship with you, and you've been working for me ever since. And I like to say, I want to take credit for a lot of things, but there's things that I can't really take credit for. that are some of your best qualities, your loyalty. Like, I don't feel like I had to instill loyalty into you. I feel like you came with that. I don't know if that helps that you can't come from the Coast Guard, or if that's just your personality, which probably is, but your morals, your moral values. Like, these are like amazing things that I see in you and figured out about you. And this is what's going to make you stand above a lot of these other tattoo artists that might just see it as something to be cool or a quick way to make money. Like, you're in it for the long run, and I'm very proud. I want to talk about what would be your favorite experience at Endless Summer that you can remember.
Um, I really loved Sailor Jerry Day because it was right up my alley, and I was stoked that I was able to finish the paintings in time, and kind of everybody went off of those. So
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, I don't know, I put in a lot of work, and it made it worth it.
So just so people understand, we did a Sailor Jerry Tattoo Day
on his birthday
2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And he painted these beautiful, like, big flash posters, collection of bangers of Sailor Jerry, and everyone was supposed to do them, and everyone did kind of hand in, like, probably more outlines and stuff like we do now, but he had these beautiful posters, and of course those were the big selling point. And we got Mike Reed to join us that day, so that was cool. Just a bunch of trad dudes getting after it, and it was a successful day at the shop, and we had a good time.
Yeah, I'd say one thing about just the loyalty thing is just, I feel like, it's not every day that someone gives you an opportunity, like even a little opportunity. But when someone gives you a massive opportunity to have a career in something that's hard and that you like, I've always loved art. So I don't think that's something that you really mess around with. Someone gives you that chance, it's ride or die from there on. As long as they do right by you, you do right by them.
And I appreciate that. Yeah, let's rewind. So actually the beginning of the apprenticeship, I know this funny part of the story, but I did tell you no a few times, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of put you through it. We were messaging back and forth one another, and I did admire your persistence, and
which I will give credit to my wife Kelsey a little bit for that. She kind of pushed me to ask for advice right off the bat after I felt pretty bad about
after I said so. I'd already tattooed you, and I didn't like how nitpicky you were about telling me everything to do, and you were very like a control freak about telling me how to do your tattoo. And in my mind, I was like, I'm fixing a tattoo that you had somebody else do that I was excited to do, but then I was thinking, well, maybe I'm fixing it because you were such a control freak for the last person that you messed it up and didn't let them do their thing, and now I'm trying to do my thing to fix it, and you're control freaking me.
Right.
So it just made it for the kind of experience that I didn't want to have again. So I said, I think I not only said that I wouldn't teach you how to tattoo, but I probably wouldn't tattoo you again. So it's pretty harsh.
Yeah, those weren't the not tattoo me again. I had no idea. So if you're going to get tattooed by somebody, the way you go about that in the best way is just find someone whose style you like and let them go crazy, because you're going to wind up with a beautiful piece of art.
Make some color suggestions.
Yeah. And I was covering up something that I really hated, and I had thought a lot about it. So and that was my first time meeting you. I didn't really know I just knew I liked your stuff, and that you could cover fucking anything. So, yeah.
So then, so tell that, I know it's a good story. So you actually took a social media break.
Yeah. So, me and my wife at the time were going through we weren't married, but we're going through a bit of a rough patch. I was living in Alabama. This is all during the pandemic. Life was kind of shitty, locked down. So I had gotten laser on my arm and I was ready to tattoo it. And I had found Mark's Instagram. So I just was like, you know what? I'm moving back to Jacksonville, Florida, where I had a condo, and I'm going straight to Mark Longenecker to finish my arm that I hate looking at. And first time I ever met Mark, I had drawn some stuff that I wanted, gave it to him. Everything was good. And then we started sitting down and tattooing. And I remember you were going to re-outline these clouds, and you started like drawing with a Sharpie, and you were making them bigger. And I was like, I kind of like the clouds. And you were like, I think big clouds look better, but okay. And that was kind of from there. It was just kind of like, oh, what are you going to do there? And it was just horrible. And now that I'm a tattoo artist, I know how annoying that is, and I'm sorry.
But no, let's tell the part about how you said you turned your phone off.
Oh, that's
you
right.
turned Instagram off.
Yeah.
For like a
So
month, right? Did a cleanse.
yeah, just like it wasn't, when you're all locked down, that's all you're doing, spending a lot of time on it. I just wanted to get away from that. And yeah, when I turned it on,
And at this point, you're trying to figure out what to do with your life. And
I think I had already gotten tattooed by you potentially though, because when I turned it on, the first thing I saw, I might have even had Endless Summer like favorited or something.
right.
Like, front and center was like the Yoda walking on the beach with Luke Skywalker painting, and it was looking for apprenticeship, and I was like, what is this? Like, I hadn't even had talked to you about an apprenticeship while I was getting tattooed. It's like, I felt like that was an annoying conversation to potentially have. Didn't really know I was being annoying as fuck. Glad I didn't, right? That would have been a horrible fucking conversation. Feel like
Yeah, you might have ruined it right then and there.
Yeah, for sure. We already went down that road.
So the moral of the story is persistence, because he kept. When I told him no once, told him no twice. And then he's like, "Well, can you tell me why? Can you give me some advice?"
I remember the advice you gave me.
What was that?
I said, after you told me no, I wasn't the right fit, I asked, what advice would you give someone to make art a career? And at that point, I was going to like digital design stuff, so I wanted to do something. And you said, basically, the group of people you hang out with, like that's what you're destined to be. So if your 5 friends are drug addicts, you're the next drug addict. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a funny story. So then moving forward, so I'm glad that we. Oh, I also wanted to say, so I did eventually think to myself, when I went and got my first, it was this tattoo right here. I did the same thing that you did, and I brought in the picture, and I had it all colored in, and I had it wrapped around my arm, and I told the artist, this is exactly the way I want it. And I was just basically you. So there was a point where I saw you and me, or me and you, because it's not so much that you're trying to be a pain in the ass, it's just that you don't understand, right? It's ignorance. Like, if you don't understand tattooing, and we all, like, tattoo artists, seasoned tattoo artists just need to always remember that. Like, people that aren't in the tattoo industry, not part of this world that you're living in, they're going to be ignorant to a lot of stuff. So it's really, you have to like come back down to that level and always think like what it was like when you were there. And that's what I really had to think. And then I opened up to you and I started giving you assignments. And at this point I was giving other people assignments too. And you were like turning assignments in fast. Like, if I would tell you to draw something, or I would tell you to even paint something, you would paint it. I would look on my Instagram, a couple hours later, there's a painting. I was like, whoa, paint this. Boom, there's a painting. Whoa, paint this. Apparently you had the time to do it. You're just sitting there waiting for the next, maybe the other people who had jobs, but
that's right.
You were ready. and I was like, okay, this guy's getting after it. And I started getting more like complicated paintings. And are any of those on your Instagram? Can people scroll all the way down and see those original paintings?
I actually don't think so.
No. Well, that'd be cool to show if you ever scrolled down on your messages and saw these original paintings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a great journey. He definitely proved himself. So we got to talk a little bit about Endless Summer. Any fond memories outside of Endless Summer?
Yeah, when you took me to Jamaica to do my first tattoo, one of the best memories I have just in life in general.
We were talking about that while we were surfing.
Yeah, because this is like the same sort of paradise, whatever. Like, first tattoo, I've never held a tattoo machine, never tried to do anything.
Just so they understand, you didn't know that you were going to do a tattoo.
No, I think we were just like smoking, hanging out, and then you're like, Aaron, come here, and you had drawn a little grid on your leg for the 4 letters, I love JA or whatever, and looking bold as fuck. I love JA.
Because I do love Jamaica.
That's #1 tattoo memory all time.
So then, I handed him the machine, and everyone crowded around, and I watched you pull your first lines.
Yeah, that was special.
In beautiful Jamaica of all places. So that's important to me. I try to get a lot of my apprentices to Jamaica because as a mentor teaching the apprentice, like, I want you to have a full understanding of me and what I love and what I appreciate and what I'm taking in, that I'm putting into my artwork. And so Jamaica obviously is a huge influence on my music, and it carries through the Jamaican culture into my artwork as well. And so I was so happy to bring you there. It kind of feels just like this. So we're in Costa Rica, by the way, beautiful Costa Rica. And I'd like to ask you what your plans are. So this trip, I did say we paddled out on the first time we surfed here. I was introducing him and I said, "This is my apprentice Aaron. He's now a badass artist, and this is kind of like our last hurrah because he's leaving. He's leaving basically in a week or two to move on, and that's what happens, and that's what I'm excited for him. And he doesn't. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure he's sure what he's planning, but maybe you can talk about what you have planned for, because you did a 1-year apprenticeship, almost 3 years of tattooing, which I really appreciate, and I think that's a great way to pay back your apprenticeship is to at least do 3 years of tattooing. And now you're gonna do what?
Now I'm moving down to South Florida, kind of in between Fort Lauderdale and Miami. I don't have a shop lined up.
You hear that, shops?
Yeah, but we'll see. I want to do conventions because I see going to conventions with youth basically since my apprenticeship started. And, it's really cool to see like people come up to you at apprenticeships and at conventions and yeah, you've been doing some of them for like 20 years or something like that, and people know who you are and buy shirts or just say hello. And yeah, it's a really cool thing. I feel like that's something that I would like in my career, just to be able to get out there and meet people all across the country. So I could probably find a shop and also do that, but that's the plan, I think.
Yeah, I think conventions are very important. It's not everyone's cup of tea, and you don't have to do conventions to be a successful tattoo artist. That's for sure. You can just stay and do your thing, and but when you're out there and you're rubbing elbows with all these people, you're probably not. They're not going to, at your shop, you're only going to have the people that come guest spot. But at a convention, it's like you're in the biggest tattoo shop in the world, right? You have people from all over. That's your chance to meet new people, to see new art, to see what's winning trophies, to see what the new machines are. Like, you'll really have your finger on the pulse of what's happening now if you're at conventions. So that's the way I see it. Not everyone agrees. People do. Well, I see a lot of people that get into it for a while and then they stop. And so me being a guy that's pretty much been at conventions for almost 30 years, I've seen so many, like this crew of people, and then they faded off, and then this crew of people came, and then there's this other crew that was coming up behind them, and then they were way better, and they were winning all the trophies, and they pushed these people out, and it's like seeing all these different, and I've just been there the whole time, and it's and every now and then I see somebody from way back in the day, like you said, from 20 years ago, and then they walk up to the booth, and it's so exciting, and it does feel like a family, and I love conventions, so. I know you had some questions for me.
I do.
All right.
All right.
Tables have turned.
Should I sit there? All right.
So I was going off the cuff. This obviously shows you Aaron. He's ready. He's been writing these down.
Okay. I guess if you ever took on another apprentice, when choosing an apprentice, kind of what are you looking for?
So, I mean, you really set the bar high, right? So, and I always use you as an example because I've had 3 apprentices since you, and you are like proven that what I teach works because you've become a very successful tattoo artist. So I'm basically looking for people like you. You don't have to be, a killer artist. Like it's more like I just want you to be a good person, good personality. A lot of stuff can be taught. If you're a decent artist, I can teach you how to be an amazing artist. I have had apprentices that are already really good artists, and it does speed things up. Like I've had apprentices that were already selling paintings for like 10 grand, and I had another apprentice that was already a graffiti artist and loved painting flash, and it just kind of speeds things up. But they also had all other faults where. They weren't loyal, or they weren't like these great people person, and so I would look for people like Aaron Furman.
Appreciate it. One thing that you told me, which I didn't know, you said it not that long ago to me, was you're like, as soon as I'm showing you something and you say no, but I do it like this, that's where you stop. And I feel like being able to be taught is a huge thing. I remember when you were giving me advice on my paintings, like I was just like, okay, no matter what it was, I was just trying to be like, I don't, you know what I mean? Super receptive, I guess.
Yeah, so that I'll give credit to who told me that was Joel Long,
Okay.
and he. So I would paint with him all the time, and and so I was obviously, and I was bringing him all my drawings. He was doing my back piece, and he was like a paint. He was like painting like a painting a day, like sick, beautiful, big Japanese paintings. I actually helped him put them all together for a book for him, and then I was able to keep a lot of those photos and reference them. But yeah, at one point he told me that he goes, I'm teaching you all this, and I love how receptive you are, and you have to be careful who you teach this to, because as soon as somebody tells you, oh no, but this is the way I do it, then that's your signal that, okay, if you don't want to hear me tell you how to do it, and you already know how to do it, then we're done.
Um, so I feel like I'm kind of at this point in my career, trying to develop like a distinct style. Like I would like or like when someone sees my tattoo, they know that's me. Obviously, everybody knows they see a tropic style tattoo across the room, Mark
Right.
Longenecker all day. What would you give someone like trying to develop their style?
So yeah, that's the best way to get a style, is to not try to have a style, right? Because it's going to come naturally. It's going to come from all your influences. I think if you come out the gate with your own style, it's probably going to be hard, unless you have developed a style through painting. But yeah, you don't. You really want to like learn and study the greats, and then your style just becomes a culmination of all these other people. Like obviously Drew Brophy is a huge inspiration. Just as much as these other tattoo artists are, I have inspirations outside of tattooing, and Rick Griffin, and these other like surf artists. So that comes into play for my art. And when I look at Drew Brophy's, I can see the Rick Griffin inspiration. When you look at mine, you can see the Drew Brophy that goes back to Rick Griffin. There's like a lineage of surf artists, just as much as there's a lineage of tattoo artists that I pull from.
I asked you the other day, kind of like how many years in were you kind of like proficient at like Japanese, and obviously Japanese style tattooing, and that's a huge part of Tropi style. So like for 10 years, you weren't really, were you thinking about Tropi style? Were you just like kind of diving as deep into Japanese finger waves, backgrounds, everything, and then that as well as all the other things you mentioned kind of started forming? Or would you say like year two into tattooing, you were already imagining like tropical, like that was always a part of it, I guess?
No, so I would say it kind of just evolved. Definitely, it wasn't figuring that out from the beginning. I credit a lot of the tropic style from the very beginning, because I was kind of forced to do it when I worked for Jimmy Buffett.
Right.
So I wasn't drawing a lot of tropical imagery when I came to Key West to work for Jimmy Buffett. I always think back to this like magazine interview too, where I got my first big spread in Tattoo magazine, and the interviewer called me up, and I just got back from Barbados surf trip, and he was so excited to hear about that, which I can understand as an interviewer. Like you're looking for some things that make you different from the other tattoo artists. So he's probably interviewed 100 tattoo artists. None of them have talked about a
Yeah.
surf trip, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why does he keep wanting to talk about surfing and a surf trip? And then the interview came out, and he like almost portrayed me as this like surfer tattoo artist, and I was like, why is he doing that to me? Like, why is he putting me in this box? Like, and I was like, oh, maybe this is good, like
Okay. Yeah.
is this setting me apart, from all the other ones. I like what he's doing here. And that was another thing that got the ball rolling. I was like, okay, he like the magazine already put me there. Now I just need to roll with it more. And so I started delving more back into it, all the surf art, and eventually, yeah, the tropic style just came about. And it was like a long process. As far as the Japanese goes, I was definitely 100% into learning Japanese from early on, and I was like boggled my mind how to draw these finger waves and crack the code on that. So we would always have sketchbooks. I'm like, hey, let me see how you draw finger waves. To every artist. And we start going over it and see their flow and this person's flow, and then I'd see somebody with some beautiful finger waves tattooed on them. I'd take a picture and I'd go study it, and so that's Japanese tattoos. Like the main thing of understanding Japanese tattoos is backgrounds, right?
Right.
It's these finger waves, it's these cloud swirls, all this stuff, and and then that's what I use in the tropic style tattoos.
Very cool. Um, what would you say the three, if you had to just boil it down to three keys to having a long, successful tattoo career?
Um, all right, so to be, so you have to really work hard, right? You have to like, you want it more than anybody else. Like you have to like think about think about the time that you expect to be at your job. Like you think about a 9 to 5er, right? They're putting in 40 hours a week, and then they're going home, and they're not thinking about work, right? And then they get to spend time with their family, and so that person will probably do okay in life, but they're not striving for more. The person who's going to get further is the person who's staying after hours and putting in more time and going in on the weekends and then bringing their work home at night. And that just goes for like normal people, like in normal jobs.
Mm-hmm.
In tattooing, this is 100% what you have to do, right? You have to be drawing at home. And like, if you think you're going to turn your mind off from tattooing when you go home and not be thinking about that, and it's not going to be a 24/7 eat, drink, bleed tattoos, like you have to, like, it's not just, I'm going to go do my tattoos and go home. So you have to really focus as hard as you can on and constantly, how can I get better? What's my next move? You have to like, I make lists all the time. You have to like see 10 steps ahead. It's like this game of chess, right? You're like, where am I going? And you have to like, you have to you have to get all those done, and then you have to have your next list of things. I want to get all these done by this time, and you have to constantly be on that. You can't just be coasting through and being like, all right, I got enough money to go to the bar tonight, and hopefully there's some walk-ins tomorrow. Maybe next week I'll paint something. It's like, no, you better be like getting after it, especially now, because it's like there was a time when you could kind of coast through, but you can't now. It's just so competitive, and there's a million people. I'd say there's more people that want to be tattoo artists than want to get tattoos. So it's like it's the craziest it's ever been. So if you a lot of these people that are getting into it that don't realize that, I'm sure they don't, they're going to fall off, and so it won't be as crazy. But right now, and if you want to continue to become somebody, you have to like charge it 110% the whole time.
One thing that I see just observing you is how active you are, and I don't see another really tattooer like that. So I feel like even just tattooing for 3 years, back, neck, like, I mean, you gotta move your body. Like when you're not,
don't move
when
it,
you're
you lose
not
it.
leaning over and painting, you gotta do something. It seems.
And you see my chair. The chair supports my my chest. It takes the stress off my lower back. When I've done an 8-hour tattoo, I've already done 1 hour of yoga and stretching before I've done that tattoo. So there's a lot of prep and stuff that goes into me being able to tattoo all day and focus on one thing all day.
What/who inspires you the most? You mentioned like Surf Art, Drew Brophy, Rick Griffin, those guys. Is there Long would have been one back in the day?
Yeah, Joe Long. He's the one that helped. Joe Long was with Ken Cameron at the time, so there's this whole like Miami scene of Ami James and all these people that Nunez that were like, there's a certain kind of like Japanese that was coming out of Miami at the time that I really love and picked up on. And there's like Euro Japanese, Philip Liu I love. I would say like if I could pick like all-time best ever favorite tattooer, it'd probably be Philip Liu.
Okay, sweet. And then final question. This one's kind of subjective, but why is tattooing the best art form?
Probably because it's something you take to the grave, and it's something that's so personal. It's something you do with the person that's getting it. Like the person who buys your painting wasn't sitting there with you while you painted it, right? The whole time watching it and going through it with you. So tattooing is just is the best piece of art that you can buy for yourself. The best gift you can give yourself. And I know I like to tell the story of when I was apprenticing in Key West, and I kind of wanted to show off to my buddy Christian Bennett. And I was like, hey, check it out. We're at this bar, and I was like, show him the logo. And he shows me the logo. He goes, check this out. And he goes, pull up your sleeve. And he shows me the tattoo he did. He goes, that logo will probably be gone within a couple years. And sure enough, the bar didn't make it, because that's a lot of what happens in Key West. Bars come and go.
Right.
And so my artwork is long gone and forgotten about, but that piece on that guy's arm is still probably kicking, and he'll take it to the grave. And that really set in and set a tone of the permanence of that kind of art that you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
So this really turned into the Mark Longenecker interview. How'd that happen?
We got 2 interviews.
Yeah, you got a bonus interview. Well, thanks for checking it out. 29 minutes. Hopefully you stayed on, and peace out.